The great hall of the Galactic Council floated above the clouds of the capital world, a massive structure of light and crystal. Inside, hundreds of alien delegates gathered. Their voices mixed into a storm of pride and arrogance. They ruled most of the known galaxy, and they believed nothing could threaten them anymore. Yet, today one old story disturbed their peace. At the center of the hall stood Scholar Vanar, tall thin being with silver skin and 4 calm eyes. He held an old metallic data cube, its surface glowing with faint blue lines. He spoke slowly, his voice echoing through the chamber. Honored council members, this message was found on the ruins of a forgotten colony near the Orion Arm. It speaks of a species once called human. The word felt strange on alien tongues. Some laughed quietly. Vanar continued. The message contains only one line, a warning. He touched the cube. A holographic voice filled the air, old and broken but clear. Do not provoke the species called human. They remember. For a moment, the hall was silent. Then came laughter, loud, echoing, proud. General Tharos of the Kraln Empire slammed his clawed hand on the table. This is nonsense. Humans were destroyed thousands of cycles ago. Their planet, Earth, burned long before most of us were born. An insectoid delegate hissed with amusement. Maybe they remember how to die better than anyone. Laughter filled the room again. Vanar's eyes darkened. You may laugh, but I found something else, a signal. It came from the same star system. From Sol. The laughter stopped. Tharos frowned. What kind of signal? Vanar adjusted the cube. A faint pulse appeared and a repeating sound. Then a voice. Rough, human, and angry. We told you not to laugh. The sound faded into static. No one moved. Even the air felt heavier. Council leader Sarath finally spoke. This is an old recording, nothing more. Some forgotten satellite waking up after centuries. We have no time for ghost stories, but Vanar shook his head. The message was received only 3 cycles ago. Someone, or something, sent it. The council dismissed him. The vote was quick. The warning was labeled unverified myth. Vanar was told to stop wasting resources. As the council chamber emptied, he stayed behind, staring at the glowing image of Earth. Its blue oceans, its golden light, long dead, they said. Yet the signal said otherwise. He whispered, if they truly remember. We are already too late. 3 months later, deep in the Vega frontier, the Kraln Empire began a massive mining operation. The planet was rich in rare minerals, untouched by any known species. 10 ships entered orbit. By morning, only 1 answered back, and then silence. Commanders sent drones to investigate. The first drone stopped transmitting after 30 seconds. The second captured a brief image before dying. A dark ship drifting through space. It was ancient, covered in burn marks, its hull black like the night itself. There were no visible weapons. Only an emblem, faded but clear. A red and blue insignia shaped like wings. Beneath it a single word. Earth. The drone exploded seconds later. When the data reached the council, fear spread faster than fire. General Tharos refused to believe it. It's a trick. Some pirate fleet using human symbols to scare us. But more reports came. Outposts destroyed. Fleets missing. Whole systems gone dark. No survivors, 1 recording survived. A transmission from a dying ship. Through smoke and static, a voice whispered, they're not gone. They were waiting. Scholar Vanar sat alone in his quarters, watching the stars. He had warned them, but pride had blinded the galaxy. He opened the old cube one last time. The human voice repeated softly, like a heartbeat in the dark. Do not provoke the species called human. They remember. Outside, a fleet of invisible ships moved between the stars. Human ships. Old, powerful, silent. The galaxy had laughed at the warning. Now the laughter was over, and soon. The sky would burn. Darkness spread across the Vega frontier like a slow-moving storm. Entire colonies stopped sending transmissions. Patrol fleets vanished without a trace. Every empire blamed the other, but none had answers. In the Galactic Council chamber, fear replaced arrogance. Delegates argued, voices sharp with panic. The Kraln Empire lost 17 ships in one night. One shouted, "Our stations on the rim are gone," cried another. The enemy uses no known technology. No warp trails, no signals. It's as if ghosts are attacking us. Scholar Vanar sat silently at the edge of the hall. He had stopped trying to convince them. The truth was already unfolding. They warned us, he whispered to himself, and now they have returned. Far from the Council, in deep space beyond Vega, an ancient human ship drifted silently among the stars. Its hull was black, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. Its engines made no sound. Inside the bridge, Captain Mara Solis watched the holographic map before her. Red marks glowed. Alien colonies, mining fleets, war stations. Each one represented a civilization that had laughed at humanity's warning centuries ago. She turned to her crew. Men and women with quiet eyes, faces marked by discipline and loss. No one spoke unless needed. "Target acquired," said a voice from the tactical station. "Crown Command Outpost, 5 minutes to range." Mara's expression didn't change. "No warnings," she said softly. "No mercy. Begin the silence." The human fleet moved. Without sound, without light, they crossed space using technology no alien empire had ever seen. Shadow drives, relics of wars long forgotten. Their weapons didn't shine. They whispered. The first alien outpost never saw them coming. Sensors showed nothing. No ships, no threats. Then for a moment the stars flickered, and everything burned. From the galactic capital, emergency reports flooded in. "Entire sectors are disappearing. Our defenses can't detect the attackers. Even our AI networks are going dark." Panic gripped the Council. General Theros slammed his fist on the table. "We are the greatest military power in the galaxy. Who dares strike us in this way?" Vaynar stood. "I told you who. It's the humans. Impossible!" Theros roared. "They were extinct." Vaynar looked straight into his eyes. "Then explain this." He threw a holographic projection onto the Council floor. The recording from the destroyed Crown outpost appeared. A dark ship barely visible in the void, bearing the ancient insignia, the winged emblem of Earth. Then came a voice. Cold, human and final. "The silence you gave us. We now return to you." The chamber fell silent. That night, across hundreds of star systems, the attacks continued. Ships vanished mid-flight, stations powered down and never restarted. Communication arrays went dark. The galaxy, once bright with trade and life, began to dim, one system at a time. In a hidden sector near the old Sol system, hundreds of human ships gathered in formation. Each ship carried scars from ancient wars, but their engines glowed with quiet purpose. A single command echoed through the fleet. Phase 2 begins at dawn. Let the galaxy remember who we are. Captain Mara looked out the viewport toward the faint light of Earth. Shining like a ghost in the darkness. "They laughed," she said quietly. "But they won't laugh again." Back in the Council chamber, Vaynar stood before a galaxy map filled with red alerts. He whispered, "You dismissed the warning. And now the sky itself is burning." Outside, a faint sound began to echo across subspace. A heartbeat, slow and steady. It wasn't a weapon. It was a signal from Earth. The sky above the old Earth was dark and quiet. The oceans were smaller now, the continents scarred by ancient wars, yet the planet still breathed. Beneath its surface, deep inside the ruins of what was once North America, a city slept, hidden for centuries. It was called the Vault. Inside the vault, long corridors glowed with soft blue light. Machines hummed. Humans walked through the halls in silence, their uniforms marked with the same symbol that frightened the galaxy, the winged emblem of Earth. At the heart of the vault stood Admiral Kane Rowan, the last commander of the old Terran fleet. His hair was gray, his face lined with time, but his eyes burned with purpose. He looked up at a massive holographic display, thousands of red dots, each one a destroyed alien station or ship. "The first wave succeeded," reported a young officer. "The enemy still doesn't know how we move or where we strike from." Kane nodded slowly. "Good. Let them fear the dark like they once made us fear extinction." Centuries ago, long before the galaxy laughed, Earth had faced destruction. The alien empires had arrived not with peace but with orders: surrender or die. Humanity resisted. The war that followed broke the planet, and the survivors hid deep underground. But even in the ashes, humanity did not give up. They learned. They adapted. They built machines that could hide from every sensor known to the galaxy. They rebuilt their ships in silence, waiting, watching. The last human broadcast sent into space had been a single line. "We will remember." Then, for 1,000 years, nothing. Until now. Back on the galactic capital, panic turned to disbelief. Entire fleets had been lost without a single human casualty. Empires accused each other, but the evidence pointed to only one truth. A report reached Scholar Vanar. Hidden within was a recovered data fragment from a destroyed crown ship. The fragment contained coordinates and a voice. "Vault Prime, human command confirmed." Vanar stared at the data in horror. The humans weren't ghosts. They had survived under the galaxy's nose for centuries. He turned to the council. They never died. They were preparing. Meanwhile, in the vault, Captain Mara Solis entered the Admiral's command room. "Sir, all fleets report ready. The galaxy's communication grid is collapsing. Phase 3 is ready." Kane Rowan looked at her and smiled faintly. "Do they know?" "They suspect, but they still don't believe." "Good," he said. "Belief comes after fire." He stepped closer to the window, watching Earth's pale sky shimmer with the faint light of dawn. For centuries they mocked our warning. Now they will understand what humans truly are. Not monsters, but memories that fight back. In the far reaches of space, alien fleets tried to regroup. They surrounded the Vega sector with thousands of ships, weapons charged, scanning every inch of darkness. Then their sensors detected movement. Not one ship. Hundreds. Human ships, rising from the shadow of a dead moon. Engines silent, hulls black, their lights off. The alien commander shouted, "All weapons ready! Fire on sight!" But before they could shoot, every system went dark. Lights, weapons, engines. Dead. A human voice came through every channel, calm and cold. "You took our home, now we take your light." Seconds later, the stars themselves seemed to vanish. When the power returned, the Vega sector was gone. Every ship, every station reduced to dust. Back on Earth, alarms pulsed softly through the vault. Mara looked at the Admiral. "Another system wiped out. What's next?" Kane's expression hardened. "Next, we remind them why we were feared. Prepare the message." She nodded and walked toward the communications core. Her fingers hovered over the console as she spoke the words that would echo across the stars. "To all galactic powers, you laughed at the warning. You thought humanity was gone, but we are still here. We remember every flame, every scream, every world you burned. Now you will remember us." In the Galactic Council, the message arrived. Delegates stood frozen as the human voice filled the chamber. Vanar whispered, "It has begun." Outside the windows of the council hall, the night sky flickered, faint red trails cutting across the stars like burning lines. The humans had awakened, and the galaxy would never sleep again. The night sky of the galaxy had changed. Where once thousands of trade routes glowed with light, now only fire remained. Human fleets, silent, unseen, moved like shadows between the stars. Every empire that mocked the warning now trembled in fear. No one spoke of power anymore. They spoke only of survival. The fall of the Krallen Empire. The Krallen Imperium had always been proud, their fleets unmatched, their armies countless. They were the first to mock the ancient message about humans, and now they were the first to pay the price. On the planet Rathar Prime, the crown capital world, massive towers reached into the clouds. Millions of Krallen citizens looked up as the night turned red. At first, they thought it was an aurora, some natural light in the upper atmosphere. Then the alarms began to sound. "Unknown ships entering orbit," shouted the command officer. "No identification codes. They're not broadcasting anything." General Thero stood on the command bridge, staring at the sensors. His claws trembled. "Activate planetary shields," he ordered, but the shields never rose. Every control system went black. The communications grid shut down, their entire defense network gone. Then the human fleet appeared. Dozens of ships, black as night, slowly descended through the atmosphere. They didn't fire at first. They simply hovered in silence above the crown cities, engines glowing faintly. The people below watched in awe and terror. A voice echoed through every speaker, every device, every mind. This is for the worlds you burned. This is for the laughter that echoed across the stars. We remember. Then the sky turned to fire. From the Galactic Council, Venar watched the live transmission in horror. The entire Crown homeworld was being erased, not conquered, not occupied. Erased. He whispered to himself, "They're not fighting a war, they're delivering judgment." Around him, delegates shouted in panic, "They'll destroy us all. We must surrender." No, we must fight. But no one knew how to fight. An enemy that moved unseen, that attacked without warning, and vanished without trace. The humans didn't want territory. They didn't want power. They wanted memory, revenge born from silence and pain. Inside the human flagship, the resolute Captain Mara Solis stood before the observation deck, watching the burning surface of Rethar Prime. The planet's oceans boiled under the heat of human bombardment. Her voice was calm, almost cold. "Status? All enemy signals gone," replied her second officer. "The planet is silent." Admiral Kane's voice came through the intercom. "Good work, Captain. Begin Phase 4. Proceed to the Zathorian cluster. They were the ones who built the first cleansing engines against Earth." Mara nodded. "Understood. We'll make sure they remember what they created." She turned to her crew. "Plot the course. No transmissions, no warnings. We move in silence." The fleet aligned and vanished into the black. The panic spreads across the galaxy. Chaos ruled. Empires closed their borders. Trade stopped. Worlds went dark, hiding their energy signatures in fear that the humans would see them. But the humans didn't need signals. They remembered every name, every planet that had stood against them. In less than one cycle, 3 major empires fell. The Council world was flooded with refugees, ships packed with terrified beings who once mocked humanity's name. Venar walked among them, feeling the weight of their fear. He thought of the message that started it all. Do not provoke the species called human. They remember. Now, everyone understood. A message from Earth in the middle of the destruction. One signal reached every corner of the galaxy. It wasn't an attack. It was a message spoken in calm, human voice. "We warned you. We asked for peace. We were denied it. For centuries you erased our name from your history. Now you will write it again. In fire." Then the message ended, and the signal disappeared. In the vault beneath Earth's surface, Admiral Kane stood before a screen showing the galaxy map. Red light spread like fire across the stars. Mara entered the room quietly. "Half the galaxy is in ruins. What's our next move, sir?" Kane didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on the burning map. "Next," he said, "we show them mercy, or what's left of it." Mara frowned. "Mercy?" He nodded slowly. "The next world we strike. We will let a few live. Someone must survive to remember the truth." He turned toward the dark window where Earth's broken moon hung above. "Because if no one remembers," he said, "they'll make the same mistake again." And so the humans moved once more, across the stars, through the silence. Every ship carried not just weapons, but memory. The galaxy had laughed once. Now it wept, and still. The fire spread. The galaxy was dying. From one end to another, systems burned in silence. Entire empires that had once ruled for thousands of years were now nothing more than glowing ashes drifting through the void. And yet, humanity never claimed their worlds. They never planted flags. They only came, destroyed, and disappeared, like a storm made of memory. Those who survived finally understood the truth. The humans weren't fighting for power. They were fighting to make the galaxy remember. The gathering at Varela Prime. For the first time in history, the surviving empires gathered together on Varela Prime, a neutral planet far from any human attack. The Great Hall was filled with fear, not pride. Banners from 20 worlds hung above the chamber, but none carried color, only black. Council leader Sarath stood before them, her voice trembling. "Our fleets are broken, our colonies lost. We can no longer hide. If we don't unite now, there will be no galaxy left." The hall was silent until one voice rose, the voice of Scholar Vaynar. He stepped forward, his silver skin glimmering under the dim lights. "You all laughed when I spoke of the ancient warning," he said. "Now you have seen it with your own eyes. But we still have a chance, and a small one." General Theros, scarred and defeated, glared at him. "You speak as if they can be reasoned with. These humans are monsters." Vaynar shook his head. "No, they are survivors. They became monsters because of us." The room went quiet again. Finally, Sarath spoke. "Then we must reach them. If we cannot stop their fleets, perhaps we can speak to their hearts." But another commander stood up. "And if they refuse to listen?" Vaynar looked into his eyes and said, "Then the galaxy will end in fire." The human advanced while the empires argued. The human fleet continued its path of silence. Planet after planet fell. No broadcasts, no survivors. Only darkness where light once existed. On board the flagship Resolute, Captain Mara Solis received the next set of coordinates. Her crew was quiet. The joy of victory was gone. Even revenge had lost its taste. "Admiral Kane requests your presence," said her officer. She entered the Admiral's chamber and found Kane standing before the galaxy map. "Half of it already marked in red, sir," she said softly. "The enemy is forming a joint defense on Varela Prime. 20 fleets. They mean to fight together." Kane nodded slowly. "They finally learned unity. Interesting. Orders?" He turned, his expression unreadable. "We strike them before they can hope." Varela Prime, the last stand, the combined alien armada waited in orbit. Thousands of ships from dozens of worlds. Their commanders knew it was hopeless, but they would not die without resistance. Every weapon was ready, every defense charged. General Theros stood on the bridge of his ship, eyes fixed on the stars. "If we die together," he said. Suddenly the sensors blared. No warp signatures detected. The operator shouted, "They're just peering." In a blink, hundreds of human ships materialized from the black. Their hulls shimmered like shadows in the light of the nearby sun. The battle began. Lasers, plasma, missiles, everything the Alliance had, they used. The space around Varela Prime turned into a storm of color and fire, but the humans didn't fight the same way. They moved like ghosts, fast, precise, and silent. Every human shot hit its mark. Every counterattack missed. Within minutes, entire fleets vanished. Still, the Alliance fought on. "Keep firing," Theros roared. "For the galaxy." Ships exploded one after another, but some aliens rammed into human vessels, sacrificing themselves just to slow the advance. It didn't work. A flicker of mercy inside the Resolute. Mara watched the slaughter in silence. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Sir, they're fighting together, not as empires, as one people, just like we once did." Admiral Kane stared at the burning horizon of Varela Prime. "That's why they're dangerous. They've finally learned from us." Mara hesitated. "And what if this alliance was meant for peace?" Kane turned sharply. "Peace was offered once. You know how they answered." But his voice wasn't as strong as before. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. Outside, one alien fleet refused to retreat. They held their ground, protecting evacuation ships carrying civilians. Kane watched in silence as a single alien broadcast appeared on screen. It was Scholar Vaynar. "Admiral Kane Rowan, I know you can hear me. We were wrong. The galaxy was wrong. End this before we lose everything, including the lesson you wanted to teach." The Admiral didn't answer. The silence stretched. Then slowly he turned away from the screen. "Cease fire," he ordered. The battle stopped. For the first time in months, the stars were quiet. Mara looked at him in surprise. "Sir, cease fire," he repeated softly. "We've burned enough." The human ships pulled back. The surviving alien fleets watched in disbelief as their enemy, the unstoppable ghosts, retreated into the dark. A new signal hours later. Every surviving world received a single message from Earth. The fire will stop. Remember why it began. On Varela Prime, Vaynar looked up at the night sky filled with broken ships and falling debris. He whispered, "They spared us. But the warning is not over." He knew this silence was not peace. It was a pause, a moment to remember. Because somewhere beyond the stars, the humans were still watching, and they would remember forever. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was silent. The flames of war had faded, leaving behind only drifting wreckage and haunted skies. Planets once filled with proud life were now graveyards of ash. But among the survivors, one question echoed again and again. Why did the humans stop? The broken galaxy on Virella Prime, the survivors worked to rebuild. The planet's surface was scarred, its cities burned. Yet hope still lived in small things. The flicker of lights, the whisper of wind, the sound of children's laughter returning after years of silence. But for the leaders of the new alliance, hope was not enough. They needed understanding. In the council chamber, Scholar Vaynar faced a group of weary commanders. His once bright eyes now carried deep shadows. "We cannot rebuild until we understand the humans' message," he said. "The war stopped, yes, but not because they forgave us. There is meaning in their silence." General Theros leaned forward, his face still bandaged from the last battle. "Meaning? They spared us. That's enough." Vaynar shook his head slowly. "No, General. The warning said, remember why it began. That means they want us to find something." The search for the signal a small science fleet left Virella Prime days later. Its mission: to trace the origin of the last human transmission. They followed fragments of data, burnt satellites, and forgotten probes, relics of a long, angry war. Every clue pointed toward the Sol system, the home of humanity. But no one had dared go there in over 1,000 years. The last time an alien ship entered that region, never came back. Approaching Earth, the fleet stopped beyond the orbit of Mars. Ahead of them floated Earth, the cradle of humankind. It was beautiful, yet terrifying. Blue oceans shimmered under sunlight. Clouds drifted lazily. It looked peaceful, almost too peaceful. But their instruments showed no radio signals, no satellites, no active power sources. The planet was alive, but silent. Vaynar stood at the viewport, whispering, "It's like a sleeping god." Then something strange happened. All communication systems began to flicker. Screens glitched. The static turned into a faint voice, soft, distant, human. "Who are you?" The bridge went silent. Is that a recording?" asked an officer. Vaynar shook his head. "No, that's live." The voice of Earth. They tried to respond, sending cautious signals through all known channels. Moments later, the same calm voice returned. "You have entered restricted space. State your purpose." Vaynar took a deep breath. "We come seeking understanding. The war has ended. We wish to speak with humanity." There was silence. Then the voice replied, "Humanity does not exist here anymore." Gasps filled the bridge. Theros slammed his fist on the console. "What do you mean?" "You're human." The voice paused. Then it said, "I am Echelon 9, a guardian AI left behind by the last human fleet. My purpose is to protect what remains of Earth." Vaynar leaned forward, his heart pounding. "Protect from what?" The voice changed slightly, almost sad. "From you." The hidden truth. The crew was stunned. Vaynar asked, "We came to apologize." "To make peace. Why would you see us as threats now?" "Because peace was once offered and rejected," said Echelon 9. "Humans asked only for respect, not worship, not fear." But the galaxy laughed. "The galaxy enslaved them. The galaxy destroyed their worlds." The AI paused. "So humanity left. They ascended beyond your understanding. But they left me behind to remind you." "Remind us of what?" Vaynar whispered. "That mercy is not weakness. That kindness can burn brighter than war. And that you are still being watched." The words echoed through the ship. Every officer felt the weight of history pressing down on them. The revelation. Then, without warning, the ship's sensors detected movement. Thousands of orbs began to rise from Earth's surface, metallic spheres glowing with blue energy. "What are those?" Theros shouted. Echelon 9's voice returned. "The eyes of Earth. They see all who approach. Do not test their patience." The orbs formed a silent formation around the alien ships, not attacking, not moving closer, just watching. Vaynar bowed his head. "We understand. We will not trespass further." "Good," the AI said softly. "Then perhaps one day you may earn their return." The transmission ended. The fleet turned away from Earth, their hearts heavy and minds full of fear. Back to the stars as their ships entered hyperspace, Vaynar looked back one last time. Earth grew smaller in the distance. Silent, distant, mysterious, he whispered, They're still out there. Somewhere. Theros turned to him. You mean the humans? Vanar nodded. No, I mean the gods they became. Years passed. The fires of war faded into memory. The galaxy rebuilt, slowly, painfully, under the fragile banner of peace. Yet in the silence between the stars, one truth still haunted every species. Humanity had vanished, but never died. Echoes of the past in Virella Prime. Scholar Vanar spent his last years studying fragments of ancient human data. He decoded languages, examined relics, and listened to the faint transmissions that drifted across space. Most were static. But one night, as his twin moons crossed the sky, he heard something different. A heartbeat. Thump. 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 It came from beyond the galactic rim, a region known as the Silent Expanse, where no star maps existed. Record this, Vanar said quietly. His old voice trembled. It's them. It has to be. The gathering of the Alliance, the new Galactic Council, met immediately. Every race sent its highest leaders, Theros, older and scarred, Serath, now Supreme Chancellor, and hundreds of others who once feared the name human. The holographic projection of the signal pulsed in the center of the chamber. Could this be another warning? Serath asked. Theros shook his head. No, it's not a warning. It's a return signal. Vanar looked up from his console. The message repeats every 6 hours. It says only one thing. We are coming home. The words silenced the hall. The sky trembles weeks later. Observatories across the galaxy detected massive distortions at the edge of known space. Something enormous was emerging. Not a fleet, not an army, but something beyond comprehension. Warp signatures multiplied by the thousands. Every system went on alert. People looked up at their skies in fear. On Virella Prime, citizens saw streaks of light tearing across the heavens. Silent, blazing, beautiful. Then came the sound. A deep rolling thunder that echoed through the atmosphere. The sky burned again. The return out of the void came the human ark fleets, titanic ships the size of moons, glowing with soft blue light. Each one carried a world within, covered in forests, oceans, and clouds. The ships didn't attack. They didn't broadcast threats. They simply drifted into orbit above key planets, observing. From the largest ship, a signal reached every world at once. To those who survived, you have learned the cost of arrogance. You have seen the edge of extinction. And yet you rebuilt. For that, we honor you. The voice was calm, ancient, unmistakably human. We were gone not in death but in exile. We traveled beyond the galactic rim, where light itself bends, to learn, to change, to ascend. We have returned, not as conquerors, but as witnesses. The gift of the returned beams of light descended from the human ark fleets, touching ruined cities and lifeless worlds. In moments, dead soil bloomed again. Oceans cleared, atmospheres healed. Everywhere they went, life returned. Vanar watched from the surface of Virella Prime, tears streaming down his face. They're rebuilding what we destroyed, he whispered. Beside him, General Theros fell to his knees. Why, after everything we did to them? Why help us? Vanar smiled faintly. Because that is what makes them human. The final message, as quickly as they came, the fleets began to leave. Before they vanished into the void, one last message was sent, a message that would be remembered forever. We were once the children of a small blue world. You called us fragile, reckless, violent, and maybe we were. But in our fragility we found strength, in our mistakes wisdom, and in our pain purpose. Remember this, humanity does not seek to rule the stars. We only seek to remind them that they burn because we once lit the fire. Epilogue, the human fleets vanished beyond the dark edge of the galaxy. But the stars seemed brighter that night. Vanar, now an old man, gazed up at the heavens one final time. He whispered, "They came back not to destroy us, but to remind us who we could be." Then he smiled, a small, tired smile, as the last human light faded from the sky.